I'm Kate. I'll be your captain. Yeah? 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 So... Yeah? So... Yeah? Yeah? So... Soon I'll get back on the waves. Hey, don't touch that! Not unless you think you're tough enough to track down the man I'm hunting. Everything I know is in that logbook. I'd find him myself if I had the money to get back on the waves. But for now, I'm just another landlubber selling tours.
Ah, Captain Capsize. I see you've already settled in and started making friends.
I don't want friends. What I want is someone willing to drag that pirate pretender back to reality. Then he can have a long and meaningful conversation with the sole of my boot.
Which won't happen unless you take the time to explain our situation. A while ago, I invited a pirate named Guybrush Threepwood and his wife Elaine to celebrate their honeymoon here on the Sea of Thieves.
You mean a fraud named Guybrush Threepwood? Though I'd also accept liar, imposter, figurehead thief.
Guybrush accepted my invitation, but his ship never arrived. After a while, I began to fear the worst. So I began making inquiries in the Sea of the Damned.
And found me stuck there, sailing in circles in my old glass-bottomed boat. Something that looked like it anyway.
A memory of yours made real by the Sea of the Damned. In that realm, people and places from long ago can come back to haunt you, mingling with all the hopes and dreams in your heart. I fear that Guybrush has become trapped in memories of his own. Memories of a distant pirate sanctuary known as Mêlée Island. If he is not rescued, he will remain sealed in a dream world for all eternity, surrounded by fragments of his past. That is why I have asked Kate to recruit pirates who are both willing and able to broach the Sea of the Damned and save Guybrush.
And then everybody here will see what a pathetic dope he really is. It's a good plan. Think they can pull it off?
I believe they can. Kate learned of Guybrush's whereabouts, but was never able to reach him. You will be sailing into uncharted territory. On Mêlée Island, things may be very different from the Sea of Thieves you know.
Which is why you should take my logbook. But don't lose it. Once Threepwood has been rescued, I'm going to make him eat every last page.
You should keep an open mind, Kate. Out here, enemies can enter the same tavern and depart as friends.
When it comes to Guybrush Threepwood, I don't need an open mind. Only a closed fist. Well, don't just stand there. Sail through that archway and find Threepwood. The logbook I gave you has everything you need to know.
Can I help choose your cutlass? Give it your best shot.
Dear Diary, wow, what an incredible end to an amazing adventure! I outwitted the evil pirate LeChuck, caused an avalanche, kinda, and lived to tell the tale. Even better, Elaine and I finally got married, and all of our friends were there too. I don't think we've ever been happier. Now all we have to do is set a course and begin our honeymoon, sailing on the Sea of Thieves. To get there, we have to pass through the Devil's Shroud. Elaine says it's no big deal so long as we follow the map, but I don't know. I miss seeing the stars. I had the nightmare again. I wake up in our cabin. Elaine is gone. And at the end of my bed, LeChuck is there, laughing at me. It's crazy, I know. I left him buried back on Monkey Island, but why does it feel so real? I can almost hear the laughter. But when I did get back to sleep, I had a very different dream. I was back where it all began, on my quest to become a legendary pirate. Back at the start of my very first adventure. Oh, I remember my first visit to the Scum Bar. It was noisy, filthy, and I immediately felt like I was in mortal danger. The kind of place I'd always wanted to belong.
Is that fresh meat I spy? Tremble, mortal, before the mighty skulls of scum.
It's been longer than a rat's tail since I last set me sockets on a would-be pirate. Though I could swear we've crossed paths before. But never mind all that. You'll be here to undertake the 3 trials, I'll wager.
The 3 trials! Aye, that takes me back. I want to be a mighty pirate. Where do I collect me hat?
Well, if you're here to prove your worth to us, too bad. We're no longer in charge around here.
Aye, and what would be the point? There's not a pirate wannabe alive who could hold a candle to the legend of Monkey Island.
No, please, not the speech again.
The mightiest pirate to ever weigh anchor!
Scourge of the Caribbean, terror of the Tri-Island territories, master of 1,000 insults.
A man who could hold his breath for 60 minutes.
Governor Guy Rush
Threepwood.
Threepwood. Ah, all that toasting of the governors made me thirsty.
Time for some more grog! Grog, 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 grog!
Ahoy there, stranger. New in town? Ahoy there, stranger. New in town? That's the stupidest question I've ever heard. Why, this is the world-famous Mêlée Island, of course. Home to some of the filthiest rogues and rascals you'll ever cross paths with. Though if I were you, I'd not stray too far beyond the village. The weather's taken an awful turn tonight. A stranger could get lost in that pea soup. Oh, plenty of places to spend your pieces of 8. Though I'd wager most will be closed at this hour. Except maybe the general store. That old skinflint never sleeps. Then there's the old jail, the church. But if you ask me, there's nowhere better than this very pub. Why not sit for a spell and soak it all in? Well, I am a pirate, but alas, I am not a captain. Truth be told, I haven't been out on the waves for many a month. It all began when that LeChuck business forced us back to shore. Once, he was the terror of the Caribbean, roaming the seas on his fearsome ghost ship until he was scuppered by the legend of Monkey Island. Oh, not what. Who? I'm talking about the most fearless felon to ever don a captain's hat and sail straight into the waiting maw of death itself. Guybrush Threepwood. Once we heard what had happened to LeChuck, most of us pirates chose to retire. There's no point trying to compete with the legend of Monkey Island. Ahoy there, stranger. New in town? Our governor is none other than the legend of Monkey Island himself. He keeps this whole area prosperous for his fellow pirates. His mansion is on the other side of town, but pirates aren't as welcome around there as they used to be. Because the governor's a busy man, that's why. Caught up writing his memoirs. It's the most pre-ordered book ever published on Mêlée Island. Come to think of it, it's also the first book ever published on Mêlée Island. But that just makes it even more exciting. I'm buying 9 copies. You should talk to the important-looking pirates in the next room. If you're to stand any chance of seeing the governor, they can tell you where to go and what to do. My name is Mancom Seepgood. What of who? Never heard of it. Now I've sailed as far as Dinky Island, but Mêlée Island is a place to be nowadays, thanks to the governor. Now that you're here, you should relax and take a load off. Uh-oh, looks like my grog is going flat, so you'll have to excuse me. Maybe not on this sea of thieves you're so proud of, but in these parts, we prefer a beverage with a little extra kick to it. Kerosene, red dye, #2. If you're brave enough to try some for yourself, we usually sneak ours out of the big barrel in the kitchen. You can join us in a toast to the legend of Monkey Island.
Hey, keep your greedy hands to yourself. Hey, keep your greedy hands to yourself. Hey, keep your greedy hands to yourself. Where's that blasted cook? Me crew and I are parched drier than Boulder Beach. Hey, keep your greedy hands to yourself.
Aye? Aye. Aye! Aye! You mean the latest masterpiece of fantasy storytelling from Lucasfilm's Brian Moriarty? Why, it's an extraordinary adventure with an interface of magic, stunning high-resolution 3D landscapes, sophisticated score, and musical effects. Not to mention the detailed animation and special effects, elegant point-and-click control of characters, objects, and magic spells. Beat the rush. Go out and buy Loom today. Sorry, but on some topics I just get carried away. Aye.
Try that again, and you'll be joining the devil for supper. Try that again, and you'll be joining the devil for supper. Leave me be. I'm too thirsty for small talk.
Hands off. That key's for official town business only. Come to share a table with me? How about sharing some grog, eh?
What are you looking at me for? I think you just did. So what brings you to my table? Oh, I bet I can guess who. All the tourists these days, they only want to speak to one man. Well, too bad for you. The governor is a busy fellow. He's got to protect this whole island. You could try and make an appointment with one of his guards, but I wouldn't recommend it. This is actually a quiet night. Business is booming ever since the legend of Monkey Island returned. Most days you cannot move for people telling stories, singing shanties, or writing questionable poetry about Governor Guybrush. Listen, if I get started, we will be here for hours. All you need to know about the governor is that he is the greatest pirate who ever lived. Crews come from all across the Caribbean just for a chance of meeting the legend of Monkey Island. And most of them end up here. If you want to know more, there is a guy selling books in town. But you'll need more pieces of 8 than most folks can afford. This does not sound like somewhere I have been. I mostly stick to the Tri-Island area. Been pretty much everywhere around these parts. Well, almost everywhere. They say you cannot get to Monkey Island just by charting a course. Unless, maybe, you're the governor. I would say you probably hit your head on the door when you walked in. It does not matter where you're from. Nobody here will respect you unless the governor respects you. I'm sorry, it's just how it is. A drink? Well, you could wait for the cook to notice you, but that could take all day. He has been rushed off his feet ever since word got out about the legend of Monkey Island and these pirate wannabes started flooding into town. He is convinced if he can find the right combination of ingredients, he can create a signature dish so delicious, the governor will officially endorse it. Well, I heard he'd hired an assistant, but they never showed up for work. They are probably hiding after setting fire to a whole cargo ship. Anyway, if you want grog, just find a mug and sneak into the kitchen. That is what we all do.
Spiffy. Probation. Card. Real cards. Monkey.
What be ye wanting?
Hey, don't touch that. Hey, you shouldn't be back here. Because it's the rules, that's why. Customers stay out front, where they can't mess everything up. Oh, right. Well, I guess you can look around. But don't touch anything. I'm trying to work on a signature dish. I want something fiery and hearty, tough yet tender. Just like the legend of Monkey Island himself. Too bad I'm still missing one of the ingredients. Meat stew. When I can find the time to spice the meat, chop the veg, and add this special ingredient like I was told. Sure enough, the lady from the Mojo shop stopped by before the governor's guards closed her down with a box of root beer sprinkles. She told me to add them to the grog and anything I cook to provide us all protection against insidious supernatural threats or something. Don't know why, but I hate to see good grub go to waste, and they don't taste half bad, so into the cooking pot with them. Can't help you there. I've just hired a new assistant, and they should be starting today, assuming they show up for work. Don't know what the delay is all about, but I hope they remember to pick up their uniform from the general store. I've had it reserved all week. Of course it matters. Cooking's a messy business, and you need to look the part. I just hope they get here soon. I'm rushed off my feet as it is. As soon as they arrive, I'm going on my break. Can't help you there. I've just hired a new assistant. Don't know what the delay is. Of course it matters. As soon as they arrive... Yeah, in the barrel. But don't think you can just go helping yourself. It's the expensive, extra-strong Governor's Special Reserve. I got a batch of it in stock in case the legend of Monkey Island ever stops by for a drink. Think of all the tourists he'd attract. But you need a strong stomach for the stuff, or you'll be out cold before long. Anyway, forget about all that. And don't touch anything.
What be ye wanting? Now that's the sort of question I'd expect from a pirate wannabe. Mêlée Island is pretty much wall-to-wall rogues and scoundrels. Granted, more than a few folks have retired from a life on the high seas and taken up other lines of work where they can. But pretty much everyone you'll rub shoulders with has flown the Jolly Roger at one time or another, and none of us are ashamed to admit it. Why should it? Governor Threepwood is in charge now, and there's no pirate more lawless, lethal, and larcenous than he. The days of being clapped in irons by the local sheriff are long gone, and it's all thanks to the legend of Monkey Island. What's the matter? You got seawater in your ears? Let me spell it out for you. Governor Threepwood is our legend of Monkey Island. He's been everywhere, seen it all, and stolen most of it. Adventures the rest of us can only dream of. The only way you'd be considered a true pirate is if the governor himself declared you to be worthy of following in his footsteps. Ha! Oh, you think so? You can't just stroll up to the governor's door and challenge him to a spitting contest, you know. But there is one way. A man in town can be your ticket to an audience with the governor, but his help surely won't come cheap. They say it lies east of here, but its exact location is a great mystery to all but a chosen few, including the governor and his wife, Elaine Marley. The whole of Monkey Island is surrounded by a strange mist that makes sailing there a treacherous prospect, unless you know exactly what you're doing. Oh, really? Well, most folks tended to avoid the place once the ghost pirate LeChuck began to use Monkey Island as his pirate lair. Only the governor was brave enough to bring together a crew and make it all the way to Monkey Island to rescue his beloved bride. It's just one more reason he's held in such high regard. But I don't suppose even he knows every secret the island has to offer. I assume you mean pieces of 8? That's the currency we trade in here on Mêlée Island, not gold or other such nonsense. The cook could have been persuaded to take you on, but he's already hired himself a new assistant, so you're out of luck there. Well, I'm sure if you keep your eyes peeled, you'll spot a few stray pieces of 8 lying around that nobody'll miss. Of course, a real pirate would notice more nefarious opportunities to fill their pockets.
Back again? You're persistent, I'll give you that. Decided to chance your luck with the governor's guards, eh? Well, you can't miss the place. Head up, through town, and through the archway below the clock tower to find a cliffside path that'll take you straight to the governor's doorstep. You might think so, but the fact of the matter is that the guards will turn you away unless you've got an official invitation. Now, I don't know where you'd go about acquiring such a thing, but there's one particular citizen whose specialty is finding what you need. You mean purveyors of tea, silks, that sort of thing? We don't allow them to operate here on Mêlée. The pirates gotta eat, though, so we do take in shipments of goods from other islands. One of them sank at the docks just the other day, in fact. Ha! What do I look like, a merchant? All I know is the governor keeps this place running just fine. We're never wanted for supplies. If you're peckish and low on funds, you could always find a fishing rod. See if you can't catch some supper that way. Each of us underwent the 3 trials way back when and became mighty pirates, when it was still possible for mere mortals to succeed. But since you ask, I'll let you in on a little secret. The trick of being in charge is to make yourself look important. That's why we took the best table in the house for ourselves and lined ourselves up here, all official-like. Well, there's no need to be like that about it. There's plenty of other pirates who wish they'd thought of it first. Pay him no heed or he'll talk your ear off all night. Claims to hail from somewhere called Sailor's Grave, wherever that may be. Only when he starts up with a shanty, I never heard such a tuneless, talentless assault against the performing arts. He claims it's the best he can do on account of lacking a full set of vocal cords, but if you ask me, he's just doing it for the attention.
Back so soon? You've plenty of questions, I'll be bound. They say the name Scum comes from a language invented by one of the first and most influential pirates who dreamed of us all sharing a common speech. Some called him a genius, others a maniac. His knowledge and wisdom was passed down at a prestigious institute known as Scum University. Who can say, if it hadn't been for the drive and vision of those pirate pioneers, we might not be standing here today making such polite conversation. Tests by which a pirate might prove themselves worthy of the title. There were 3 to be faced, spread across Mêlée Island. Trouble was, once word began to spread about the legend of Monkey Island and all that he'd accomplished, the trials looked pretty feeble by comparison. That we did, but no matter how dangerous, deceitful, and despicable the trials became, not one of them held a candle to the governor's heroic deeds. Eventually, nobody could manage to complete the trials, and the whole system was abandoned. Better to seek the governor's blessing. He may not look it, but Governor Threepwood has the strength and stamina of 10 men. He's the champion of both our caber tossing and spitting contest. And when it comes to his skill with a blade, his insults have flummoxed the sword master herself. Aye, that's a trick you'll get to learn if and when the governor judges you to be a worthy pirate. A devastating witticism delivered at just the right moment can throw your opponent off balance. We pirates have our pride to consider, after all. Elaine Marley was her name, back before she became Mrs. Elaine Marley Threepwood. Few could win her heart back then, though many pirates tried. She was a fine leader, and just as fine a match for the legend of Monkey Island. Though there's one pirate who thought otherwise, and LeChuck was his name. That's putting it mildly. When Elaine invited him for dinner, LeChuck was instantly smitten and vowed to do whatever it took to marry her. Needless to say, the legend of Monkey Island wasn't about to stand for that. It ignited a bitter feud between the two of them. Ah, but that was a long time past now. Makes me all misty-eyed just to think about it.